A lot happening over the weekend, including the rain, moving some events around, but Pride Fest went on last Saturday, this past Saturday, and there was a break in the rain. And that still, people headed out there. It's good to see our community continue to thrive. And I think this is just a precursor for all of the great events that are coming up in downtown Springfield. So hopefully you got a chance to take part in some of that. On Sunday, Megan and I, we woke up and made a maiden voyage on our kayaks, which we're getting ready to head out of town. Not too far, but just programming note, I'm not on air here Friday. I'm taking the Memorial Day weekend off. I can't tell you, it's been like 9 years since I've had a nice Memorial Day off because the state legislature typically is in on Memorial Day. And there's been times where I work through Memorial Day weekend all throughout the week and just don't get a day off after like 18 days straight whenever they go into overtime. So that's not happening this year. I'm taking Memorial Day off. But listen, politics is obviously something else that was going on this weekend. Outside of all the events in downtown Springfield, you had announced that Richard Irvin, the Aurora mayor who's running to get the Republican nomination for governor, he and a slate of candidates that are all kind of considering themselves a unified candidacy for statewide office, from John Milhiser for Secretary of State, Shannon Teresi for State Comptroller, Tom Demmer for State Treasurer, Steve Kim for Attorney General. You've got Avery Bourne for the Lieutenant Governor position, and Richard Irvin as the gubernatorial candidate. Now, all of those candidates, except for Tom Demmer, have a contested primary for the Republican primary. But this slate of candidates stopped in Springfield at the Sangamon County Republican headquarters, heralding an endorsement by the Sangamon County Republican Party. So after they gave their stump speeches as to why they feel that they're going to be the candidate, and I want to get your reaction to this. Richard Irvin was asked by a member of the media there whether he voted for Donald Trump. And I want to hear from you. Is this an issue that's important to you as a Republican voter if you plan on pulling a Republican ballot for the primary? Because early voting's going on now. It started Thursday, and June 28th is the actual primary day. So does something like this impact you in how you vote in the primary when a candidate does not specifically or directly answer a direct question about whether or not he voted for President Donald Trump? So here's that exchange on Saturday at the Sangamon County Republican headquarters after the stump speeches, and I want to get your reaction at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. Here we go with the Q&A.
Mayor, did you vote for President Trump in 2016 or 2020?
When I in general elections, I'm a Republican. I always vote for Republicans.
So is that a yes?
As I said, in general elections, I always vote for Republicans.
But you voted for President Trump. Yes.
A number of media outlets want to talk about the White House and national politics. This is about the state of Illinois. That's exactly what J.B. Pritzker wants to be talking about. Anything other than his record, comparing my record and successes as mayor of the second largest city in the state of Illinois to his failures of the state of Illinois. As long as we're talking about other things, national politics and the White House, we're not talking about what we need to move Illinois forward. And that's what we need to be talking about. When I go around this state talking to people, let me tell you what they're interested in. They're interested in making sure that, their kids are safe and not getting shot. The crime is under control. They're interested in making sure that the taxes are low and they're not taxed out of their family home. They're interested in making sure that there's no corruption in the state and we're able to move forward and actually do work on behalf of the people. That's what they care about.
Well, and I asked, though, Mayor, because your campaign is sending out mailers that are basically saying that Jesse Sullivan and Darren Bailey are secret agents for the Never Trump agenda, insinuating that, Darren Bailey supported President Biden. Do you think it's fair to make those attacks on your opponents when you won't definitively say whether you voted for the president or not?
Well, listen, this election is about comparing records, comparing backgrounds. I was attacked by all of these folks and all my opponents on both sides of the ticket, the Republicans and J.B. Pritzker. Even before I formally announced, it's important that we point out everybody's record. Those are their words. That's their background. We want to point it out so our voters know who the people are. During campaigns, people will say a lot of things, but it's important that we get their records out, and that's what it is.
But is that part of that record of establishing and saying on the record who you did vote for, especially if you have these mailers, calling attention to that to your opponents?
Listen, as I said, this is about comparing records, and the people of Illinois will see, based on the comparison, who is the best person, to take J.B. Pritzker out come November.
So I want to hear your thoughts now in reaction to Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin being asked multiple different ways whether he voted for President Trump in 2016 and 2020. He's just simply said that he's a Republican and he always votes Republican in a general election. So I want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. That is the phone number here, live and local on WMAY. Again, 217-629-7970. All right, now 8:16. Let's take a brief break here. 217-629-7970 is the number. Good morning. You're on WMAY. What are your thoughts to Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin not really directly answering that question? Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Great show. You always got a great show. Hey, my thing is he's a typical politician. You know what I mean? They go around the question and never fully answer a question. To me, he didn't answer the question. So he just stammered around it and didn't say he did vote for Trump.
Is that going to impact who you vote for if you pull a Republican ticket?
Not really, because I'm voting for Bailey. So I already got my mind kind of made up. I've kind of done my research, and I think I'm going to put my vote towards Darren Bailey.
Got you down. I appreciate the call, and we'll get more phone calls after the break here on WMAY. Again, 217-629-7970. Getting your calls about Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin stopping in Springfield, being asked if he is going to say whether or not he voted for President Trump in 2016 and 2020. Again, opening up for your phone calls at 217-629-7970. Your reaction to this. Here is Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin again asked about whether he voted for Donald Trump.
Mayor, did you vote for President Trump in 2016 or 2020?
When I in general elections, I'm Republican. I always vote for Republicans.
So is that a yes?
As I said, in general elections, I always vote for Republicans.
Go ahead. But you voted for President Trump, yes?
Listen, that's a number of media outlets want to talk about the White House and national politics. This is about the state of Illinois.
So your thoughts now at 217-629-7970. Full phone lines. Good morning. You are on WMAY. What's up?
Good morning, Greg. It's a yes-no question, and we never heard yes and we never heard no. What we heard is a lot of equivocating, and there's possibilities out there. Maybe he voted Republican for everything except the president. Maybe he voted for Biden. Maybe he voted for Trump, and he's calculating that he needs some votes out of Chicago in order to win the governorship, and he doesn't want to come out and say it. I don't know the answer. I just know that it says something about him that he will not take a stand in his own name for his own declaration. And I suspect that combined with some of the other things we're learning about him and his whole BLM stuff and all that, that he's probably a guy who's not as tough as he acts like he is. And the other your other question that you asked the other caller was, how does that affect my choice? Well, I was gravitating away from him anyway, because another thing I'm looking at is how horribly he has mismanaged that avalanche of money given to him by Ken Griffin. That's a terrible campaign. He's completely worn out the I'm a tough guy routine. And now he's just dropped an ad in May where, it's sunshine all over the state, and he's wearing an overcoat in front of an overcast Capitol. It's just bad visual and cheap campaigning. And I'm thinking to myself, if that's the best he can do with all that money, I'm not sure he's really a guy that ought to be governing a state. So
appreciate the call. A lot of thought put into that. Thanks for hanging out. Good morning. You're on WMAY. Your thoughts. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. I guess my thing on Richard Irvin is, does it really matter who he voted for? Because just like in our election, the general election, there was no choice. The politicians are the exact same. And quite frankly, I don't understand why you guys get up here and put on this big parade like there's any difference. Nothing changes.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, the question is a question I think is going to be asked of Irvin from now until November if he makes it through the primary. But that's a question we're asking you. Is this important? Is it important to know whether or not Richard Irvin voted for Donald Trump? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Morning, Greg. Hey, yeah, I think it was a good question to ask because, like the interviewers were asking and making sure, he put out all these flyers saying that, all the other candidates, and then his answer to that was, well, I just want to compare records. Well, then put your money where your mouth is and compare the actual record. Answer the freaking question. And he never did. And so, yeah, I think that's going to look bad either way. Whether you're a northern GOPer or a southern person. And I think that him not answering that question lost him a crap ton of votes. And it definitely lost mine, but he lost mine like 2 callers ago said. He lost mine a while back because everything he's putting out there is it just doesn't seem right at all. He's getting all that campaign fund, and he's just putting out garbage.
Listen, I mean, we're in a primary, a lot of mud's being slung all over the place, and that's typically what you get in a primary. But with this particular question, asking about a polarizing figure as in Trump in a state that's somewhat purple, your thoughts on Richard Irvin not answering whether he voted for Trump. And again, his response was, I always vote Republican in a general primary, he says, or in a general election, rather. So he didn't specifically directly answer that direct question as to whether he voted for Trump. Is that kind of a question important for you? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. I just got to say it quickly. I'm heading into the office, but I'm going to say I think it's very disingenuous of him not to give a direct answer, a yes or no. I think it's kind of suspect. And the other question I have real quick is, can citizens check under FOIA, under like State Board of Elections?
For what?
To see who he voted for? Or
no, I mean, listen, the way Illinois works is primaries. You can find out how an individual voted in a primary, not the candidate, though, but only if they voted Republican or Democrat, right? And if you got 6 candidates on a Republican ticket, you can just only see that person voted for a Republican. You don't know which candidate they voted for. And in a general election, no, you can't tell because all the parties are on one ballot. It's a secret ballot. Right, for the general election. So, there'd be no way to determine that. I appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. One last quick call. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Yes, it does matter. And it matters even more if our ultra MAGA king supports him or backs him, because that is what matters.
Well, we'll see. We've heard in the past when we talked with Darren Bailey, he's saying that he anticipates getting an endorsement from Trump. But again, these are just 2 of 6 candidates on the ballot. You've got Richard Irvin, Darren Bailey, Paul Schimpf, Jesse Sullivan, Max Solomon, and Gary Rabine that are all vying for the electorate's vote. And the June 28th primary is just around the corner. Early voting is underway now. And I imagine we'll talk about this and so much more. Thanks for all of the interaction here this morning with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and